When you're ready to light a scene, you'll want to go to Lights, which is under the Create menu. And then next to Geometry, you've got Shapes. And next to Shapes, you've got Lights. Click on Lights. Make sure this is set to Standard. And we'll go over these 5. We'll go over Target Spot, Free Spot, Target Direct, Free Direct, and Omni. Target Spot is your basic spotlight. If you click and drag, you'll have 2 places that you can tweak. The first will be where the lamp is created, and the second will be where the light ends up. So you'll have 2 points that you can animate. So I'm going to click and drag in the front viewport, and I'll let go of the mouse here. And the place where I clicked down is where that lamp was created, and the place where I let go of the mouse is where the light ended up. And what's handy from an animation perspective with 2 points like this is I can animate one and leave the other stationary, or I may want to animate 2 in 2 different directions. So let's see what this would look like if I leave this point stationary and animate this point where the lamp is, where the light is coming from. If you look in the bottom right viewport, you can see, or I should say the perspective viewport, you can see the effect that I'm getting here. The place where the light ends up stays the same, and the place where it's coming from is animated. I may also want to animate just this, just the place where the light ends up, and leave the lamp stationary. So in that case, I would just select it and move that point back and forth. And if you look on the bottom right of the screen, you can see the effect that we're getting. So you can see where that would come in handy for some applications. The free spot is the same light, only it acts a little different. This one, you pretty much just you find where you want to put the light, and you just animate that one particular spot. So for example, if I click on the lamp and I move it, notice that the place where the light ends up is no longer stationary. It moves along with the lamp. That's why they say free. It's free, almost like a person maybe walking with a flashlight, or another way to look at it would be almost like a fish swimming through water. You've got one object that you animate, 1 point to tweak. And so just depending on the application, you may want to use this kind of light. And then, or the kind of project. And then the Target Direct is, this one is very narrow light. You can really zoom in on a particular item and light that particular item. So for example, if I look in the top viewport and I really want to focus on the sphere, watch what happens when I render. Well, the box is in the way. I'd have to move that out of the way. But you can see how it's a very narrow spotlight, almost like you'd see in theater. And this, like the target spot, has 2 points. So you've got the point where the light ends up, and you've got the point where the light comes from. And then the target, or the free direct, is the same light as the target direct, only it's got just that 1 point for tweaking. Very similar to the free spot, only it's that narrow light instead. The Omni is almost like a good room light. It just lightens up the scene, and the light is the light comes from a specific source and then just sort of fades out. So if I click on this area here in the front viewport, and I put the Omni there, and then I'm going to render the perspective viewport so you can see how that looks. And by the way I'm rendering is I'm holding shift and hitting the letter Q. You can see how that light would look. So it's a good room light. And you can put multiple lights. I could put one here, one over here. The more lights you use in a scene, the slower your computer will process. So you usually want to put those lights on at the very end. Let's look at shadows. If I put that target spot back on this scene and I render over here, notice that there's no shadows being cast from these objects. If I want shadows to be cast, I need to go to this light and I need to go to modify, and then you've got all kinds of parameters you can tweak here: the intensity, the color, spotlight parameters, advanced effects, shadow parameters. You can, if you go into general parameters and turn the shadows on, you can get some shadows out of these objects. See? And then you can get more advanced with the type of results you get by tweaking these different parameters here in these submenus.